going here. This Hangout on air is live. Let's make sure that we're feeding. And let's see if we can get some people popping in here.
Good evening.
It says there's 3. Let's see.
Good evening to all, and to all a good night.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? It is Sneed from Mobile Tech on the JGTechBlog podcast. We are live streaming. Today's date is Sunday, March 31st, 2019. And I am Steen from Mobile Tech, and I have a guest with me. This is Dave B from Dave B's Tech. Dave, there's your introduction. Go ahead, buddy.
Good evening, everybody. As Sneed so delightfully said, I'm Dave. I run a YouTube channel, Dave B's Tech. I'm a ham radio operator, mobile enthusiast. I'm a big MVNO person. I use Ting, which is a mobile MVNO, as my main carrier, and I'm a big software guy. So
now, what's important that I think everybody knows, Dave, is that not only are we enthusiasts, not only are we specialists in some of these different tech realms and markets, but we're consumers. And what we do on our channels, whether it's mine or yours, is to inform consumers about what's going on in the wireless space with hardware, different types of connectivity and technologies. Kind of our goal and our purpose is to make sure that people are kind of up on their info, And I think that we do have that shared interest is kind of the reason why we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Mobile technology is a rapidly changing industry, and you got to keep up with it. And again, with the consumer thing, like we are just, we're just everybody else. We're just doing this for fun.
So let's go ahead and let's give some shout outs in the live chat. I usually like to start with this. We have Dom Lou Miami is here. Gary Nichols is here. Hopefully it's not buffering anymore, Gary. Let me know. Israel says, what's going on? Hey, buddy. Raphael is here. We have Greg A is here. We're getting a good feed, says it's feeding perfectly. And then Larry Barber is here. So that's who we got so far. 24 people are in the live chat, 24 people watching. Thank you all for stopping by. Thank you for taking the time to watch and participate in the live chat. Again, I have guest with me, Dave B from Dave B's Tech. He's going to be joining me for today's edition of the podcast. The goal is to go for about 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to be talking T-Mobile exclusively. We're going to be talking 5G prospects and the mobile home internet. So in terms of, what we are seeing so far in terms of the planned rollout of 5G deployment and T-Mobile's home internet provisions, we have some really lofty goals, Dave. T-Mobile has big plans. They want to do a lot. They want to be a disruptor in, home internet. They want to be a disruptor in TV, and they want to have the nation's first nationwide 5G network. So I guess what I'll do is I'll kind of start with you is what do you think about their goals and how achievable do you think they are?
I think T-Mobile has proven themselves again and again. I think most of their consumer base is actually built on the fact that they are a disruptor. They've done the uncarriers and things like that. And especially with this home internet thing, I think it's totally achievable. I think the 50 megabit per second, speed is actually pretty doable for them on most of their network. As I said, I'm on an MVNO, and when I do speed tests here in Minneapolis, I'm getting 100 megabits down easily, and I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. So I can't imagine what I would get if I were on T-Mobile postpaid directly. And this could be beneficial not only for those in a rural setting where they don't have much choice, but even in urban environments where they don't have very good choices. My friend is on an ISP in Des Moines, Iowa, in almost near downtown, and her Wi-Fi drops out so much that she can't even hold a WhatsApp call most of the time.
It's interesting to see why, like I did a video on this on the Steam Mobile Tech channel last week, and in that video, there were mixed kind of impressions on the home internet. Some people were basically saying 50 megabits per second ain't going to get the job done. I need more. I need a full gig. I need 500 megabits. It's got to be, better than $60 a month. Like people have these expectations T-Mobile's not trying to compete with gigabit speed. T-Mobile's not trying to compete with really high speed broadband. What they're trying to do is they're trying to give certain people in certain places another competitor. And they're just trying to give them something serviceable. Serviceable being about 50 megabits per second. And so like when we think about who is it serving? People that live in rural areas, people that are on limited or, low incomes, that can't afford $150 a month for gigabit speed, but they do want, 50 megabits per second so they can watch all their HD movies and videos. And I just think people are losing kind of track as to who this is for. So your friend who lives in a rural area, this is for them. And this is for the people that are cost sensitive.
She actually lives in downtown Des Moines, and the ISP in the actual center of Des Moines, Iowa, is hardly any good. She can't, as I said, she can't hold a WhatsApp call. It's either jittering too much, like the pings are too high, or she's not getting the kind of speed to do it. And that's in downtown. And WhatsApp only requires like a megabit per second each way. And T-Mobile's service on her phone, she's using Ting as well. Again, bottom of the totem pole. And it's more reliable than her home ISP. And that's crazy.
That is crazy to think. I know, in terms of how, networks get monitored and managed, it starts first with, the prepaid and the MVNO side. They get slowed. Their network connectivity probably drops down to about 10% or less maybe, of what the speeds, are normally there. So if you're on a provider like Ting who operates on T-Mobile, or whether you're on Metro by T-Mobile or whatever MVNO it is, you're going to get slowed at times of congestion. How is it that that person's service is better than their home ISP? I mean, that's their home ISP should be embarrassed that they're falling out, disconnecting, whether it's hardware or wireline failures. There needs to be improvements and innovations within the space. The market needs to become more competitive. And I think that's what T-Mobile is going to be doing.
The fact that the wireless carriers are going to bring competition to the wireline ISPs, in my opinion, is nothing but a good thing, because instead of having one or maybe two bad choices, she'll have at least four other ones. And who knows what MVNOs might jump into this space and be like, we'll offer the same thing with either a slightly lower threshold speed or something like that. They'll find some other way of offering compelling service.
In the live chat, we've got some people chiming in. Greg A says 50 megabits per second is fast. You really don't need gigabit. I think that depends on your application. I mean, if you're sending enormous sized files, very high resolution, extended duration video, a gig might be necessary. But I think for most people that are maybe streaming Hulu Live or PlayStation View or DirecTV Now, whatever your video streaming services, 50 megs is going to get the job done, wouldn't you say?
I would absolutely say, and I would also say that 50 megabit per second, as long as you're not downloading anything much over 20 or 30 gigs, is going to be fast enough. Because you've got to consider that 50 megabits per second is going to be 5 megabytes. So you're getting 5 megabytes per second down when you're actually downloading a file. And anything under a couple of gigs is still going to download in a rapid amount of time, and you're not really going to notice it. I download several gigabyte ISO files because I'm a Linux user, and I download the newest versions of Ubuntu Linux and things like that off the websites, and I don't notice it.
Now, in terms of the service, T-Mobile's keeping things pretty simple. In terms of the home internet provisions, they're going to be sending certain number of people some testing equipment. They're going to send them a 4G LTE box that is going to be broadcasting 2 channels. So it's capable of 2.4 and 5 gigahertz channels. So it's going to basically be just like home Wi-Fi from a normal router. So it's doing those 2 channels. It's going to have 2 LAN ports on the back. It's going to have phone connectivity. It could connect to a line. It's going to be power plugged, and it's also going to have battery backup. So, I mean, it's a decent piece of hardware that you don't even have to pay for. T-Mobile is going to be sending it to you as long as you qualify, in some kind of a geographical range where they decide that this is available to you. So you can't sign up for it if you're not, within a certain range or region. But if you are eligible for it, they're going to give you the hardware and they're going to help you with the setup through an app. I mean, they're keeping it pretty simple here.
I think that's actually a bit of a shame that they're limiting it to certain geographic areas. I think that they should actually allow more people to use it and just be like, hey, we can't guarantee that that's going to work at the advertised speeds here yet because we don't support the area yet. But here, if you want to test it out, be our guest, take it and use it. As I said, her home ISP, anything would be better than that. Like anything T-Mobile offered at this point in time would be better than not being able to hold a WhatsApp call.
No, I'm not sure what's going on in the live chat in terms of like, which people have what type of service. Most people around my parts have a home internet service provider similar to like Spectrum, Cox, these types of providers. They will give you fast internet. It comes at a cost, but they'll give it to you. The problem I'm seeing, and this is from my channel on SMT and also here on the JGTechBlog, I'm seeing that some people have little to no options and they're stuck with things like satellite provisions. And they're paying upwards of $100 to $200 a month to get like 50 gigs of internet, or yeah, like 50 gigs of internet, and it's like 15 megs per second. I mean, how is that a legitimate option? That data cap is so short, and then the speeds are slow.
No, what are you going to do with 15? What are you going to do with 50 gigs in today's
That's what I want. I mean, a file could take 50 gigs.
Absolutely, especially like one of those high-end games or something. 50 gigs easy.
So how are you going to spend $130 for a short data cap and then like not even 2019 standard LTE speeds? That's the reality. Like everybody's like, well, this doesn't suit my bill. I get Giga Blast and all these other service provider, designations for gig speeds. This isn't for you. This is for those people that have HughesNet. And this is for those people that have all these satellite providers just basically railroading them to the floor in pricing and giving them no options and no innovation. And what about when the weather goes bad? We've got cloudy skies, rain, and snow.
Take a look at this. My friend used to live up in a rural area of Minnesota, and while T-Mobile wouldn't have worked in this area, something similar from Verizon would have done the trick, because again, she had this issue where she used to live too, where her internet was just terrible, and she just had to deal with it because she had no other options. Wireless providers are going to help solve these problems for these people. And quite frankly, 50 megabit a second is just fine for even me. And I'm a pretty big data user. I download ISO files and things like that require decent amounts of bandwidth, and it works just fine.
We've got some chat going on here in the live chat. Rafael Perez says T-Mobile is being innovative, which you can't say about any other carrier. That's 100% true. Most other carriers are kind of stagnant, and they're not really doing much in the marketplace, at least anything that could help customers in any way. A lot of people are saying they have providers like Spectrum, satellite sucks. People say all they have is AT&T and Spectrum, and we know both of those providers are known to really price gouge people's brains out and really dig into their pockets. It's awful. Like the innovation and the potential competition in this alone, I think, is worthy and recognizable. And as a consumer, I can't wait for T-Mobile. And I think about like speeds, for example. Let's kind of move over to speeds. 50 megabits per second. We can agree it's good for most people, right? They can use that. I mean, I'm currently, I'm at 100 megabits per second at home. I'm getting like 10 on the upload. I'm paying 60 a month. Just because I hate my provider, I would gladly downgrade to half the speed. And I don't care about the price. I mean, yeah, I'm going to be paying $10 less, but I'm losing like half of the bandwidth, but I don't care. That's how much I resent my provider.
Absolutely. Some of these providers, like I resent Comcast the exact same way. When I was moving from my old apartment, I had Comcast and I had roughly the same speed that T-Mobile is offering us. And they wanted to charge, I think it was like $80 for it for the same exact thing. And it was 50 by 10. And as I said, it was like $80 and T-Mobile's offering 50 by 50. And I actually like T-Mobile. I respect what they're doing. And Comcast is not doing anything except trying to like price gouge people and keep people locked into contracts. That's the thing that T-Mobile does not seem to be doing, and that's definitely appreciated.
Dave, do you think, in your humble opinion, that when T-Mobile does a large scale launch, they're going to be able to keep up with the capacity needs of this network and the service and still keep the wireless side happy?
I think they're going to have to do some network management. I think they've focused a lot on the downlinks. Um, and so I think what they're going to have to do in a lot of the areas is actually tune down the downlink a little bit to make room for a little bit more uplink, actually. As I said, I'm getting 100 megabits a second on an MVNO, and I've heard of people on the postpaid side getting 250, 300. So I think they're going to have to down the download speed some to make room for more upload capacity. But I think they can do it.
I think about the capacity in terms of this testing bed. Now that it's kind of in like this testing stage and people are getting the hardware and they're using the service, I don't think they're going to notice any type of slowdowns. I don't think the wireless users are going to really feel anything because I think they're going to strategically try to just kind of spread it out a little bit. And I don't think they'll have any capacity issues then. But on a grand scale, I could see it potentially having to be managed, like you said. But I also think, like with the merger, I think the capacity potential increases exponentially.
I
So like if as soon as they get a hold of that spectrum, that those spectrum holdings from Sprint, that's real stuff right there. Those are game-changing spectrum holdings.
I'm really, really excited for T-Mobile to get a hold of Sprint's 2.5. If they get a hold of that, knowing Neville Ray and the way that they do things, it's going to be a changed company very, very quickly because T-Mobile is going to fight like mad to roll that out. Look at what they've been doing with their 600. They're going to fight like mad to get that rolled out. We're going to be seeing, if I had to take my guess, they're going to up it to 100, 150 megabit a second each way without even blinking because
Wow.
that's just what Sprint Spectrum can do. They have what is it, almost 100 megahertz of contiguous uh, band 41 throughout most of the nation.
Now, so it's going to take a couple of years, like the integration of Sprint spectrum to get rolled out. Like it's true, the 600 megahertz spectrum that is being broadcasted through band 71 for T-Mobile. It's really been a game changer for their rural coverage. But the throughput potential with the band, like with 2.5, for example, 2.5 gigahertz, they could run TV through that. I'm not talking like streaming TV. I'm talking like layer 3 TV, like true cable operations, because the bandwidth that it requires using layer 3 TV compression technology, I mean, it would be a match made in heaven.
Oh, easily.
I mean, God, man, if you could bundle services, right? So this service is $50 a month. If they keep $50 a month and then throw in layer 3 TV for another 50 for like some kind of a package, like 70 channels or something like that. You got a little sports, you got some movies. You get people in at $100 a month. They will leave their home ISPs in a heartbeat.
Your standard TV channel is around 6 megahertz of frequency. Like that's how much it takes to do your standard TV. And so if T-Mobile wants to with 2.5, they could easily do that. And if they offer TV, phone, and internet at a good price, I could totally see people jumping. $50 a month is not bad for home internet. Not in today's world when 80, 90, 100 or oh here, we'll give you this but bundle it with your cable or bundle it with your I don't want to bundle, I want the internet. I want to stream my TV.
Right. And what if they could sell you, like in this case, post merger, what if they told you you'll be starting off at 100 megabits per second? You might see 150, you might see 200, but we're going to keep you at around 100 megabits per second on the downlink.
At $50, I'd totally buy it. Absolutely.
I don't understand
Wait,
who's beating that. Like $50. I mean, that is by far like the fairest asking price. If you could go nationwide, I'm not talking about, communities where like it's $30 a month for 100 megabits per second. Like that's not common. I don't see that around here. Do you see it?
no, I've not seen that.
Like I took a poll on my YouTube channel, on the Steam Mobile Tech YouTube channel. 47% of people are paying $60 or more for 100 megabits per second. And 37% are paying between 40 and 50. So I don't know who's paying 30 a month for 100 megabits per second. I don't
I
know who
would.
that is. But
I
like I
wish.
look at average cost. An average cost for 100 megabits per second, people are up over at around $60 a month. So they're going to be coming in at 50, and then they're going to bundle it with wireless, for your smartphone, and then there might be a TV package involved with layer 3 TV. And I would love to see this implicated with Metro by T-Mobile. I would love to see that. I mean, to keep this on the prepaid side, like, what do you think? Like, T-Mobile's pretty uncarrier, right? That's their name. Do you think they could do something for those on the Metro side?
I think so, and I think that they could offer plans to people on the on the Metro side. Like if I think that they shouldn't just offer their internet and TV services to their customers. They should offer it up a la carte. So if I want just T-Mobile TV, I should be able to buy that. If I just want T-Mobile's home internet, I should be able to buy that. And there should be speed caps. So if I want 100 megabits a second, it's $50. If I want 50 megabits a second, it's 25, right? I would pay $25 a month for 50 megabit a second internet guaranteed.
Of course,
Absolutely.
of course. That's very competitive. I mean, and that's enough speed to keep you connected on pretty much most applications. A tablet, a laptop, a Chromebook, TV streaming, smartphone, like that could do it.
Each device in our modern world, according to statistics, needs about, I want to say it was 5 megabits per second to itself. So
Per
if you have
application, right?
just in general. So for a user's device, it's best if you have 5 megabits a second for that user and that user alone, no matter what device they're using. So whether it's their smartphone or whether it's their laptop, whatever device they happen to be using at that time should be able to pull 5 megabits a second for itself at all times to make a good experience. Sometimes more, sometimes less, with your streaming and stuff like that.
Well,
But as a general
I
rule,
like a little
as an
bit of wiggle
average,
room, so we'll shoot up a little bit higher. So I don't know, maybe 8 to 10.
that sounds fine.
Okay. So
That's an average though. That's all of your your VoIP calling, your FaceTiming your mom, and that's also including your streaming Netflix and stuff like that too.
yeah, the TV side is kind of the thing that really, pulls the bandwidth. It's the fact that you might want to watch 1080p, and in some cases you may go 4K. Yeah, if you're going 4K with no special compression technology, you're probably looking at needing at least 20,
Yeah,
you know.
2025 sounds right.
So, you want to get in at 50 probably if you're going to be doing anything ultra high definition, and then probably to be on the safe side. And if you've got a family of 3, 4, 5 people, get you closer to 100 megabits per second. So, as our tech demands increase, I think the network also needs to continue to evolve and improve. And I think that's where the merger comes into play, giving them that potential.
Now, what's going to happen when 5G comes out? If they're offering 50 megabit per second each way on LTE and 5G can do 10 gigabit per second, what are we going to see once 5G is rolled out improper?
Well, so I don't envision 10 gigs per second from
No, I don't
5G.
either.
I'm anticipating at least wireless mobility, right? We're talking probably somewhere, I think 300 by 2023 is going to be mainstream. Give me 300 megabits per second, in 4 or 5 years.
I think so. Now imagine if they do that for their home internet as well.
I think once you're doing it mobile, you're doing it home internet.
Yep, I think so.
So by 2025 or no, they set their goal to 2024 to get inside of 10 million homes or something like that, 9.5 million homes. I think, and if they expand it beyond just T-Mobile postpaid, get into Metro, I think, and then like you said, kind of some tiered plans and some options. I think they could potentially double that number by 2025. I think they could get into 20 million homes if they somehow bundle this with wireless smartphones and Metro, the Metro by T-Mobile side. There's a lot of customers out there. With the merger, T-Mobile is going to have over 30 million customers on prepaid.
That's crazy.
And that counts, users like you on Ting, and that counts all the MVNOs, and that counts Metro, and that counts Boost, and all the Sprint customers, right? All of them kind of get absorbed into this merger, and that's a big market.
Absolutely. And that's why I want this thing to be more than just postpaid and T-Mobile brands, because I'm on Ting. I want to be able to buy this, right? And right now, I can't do that. I don't believe, because I believe it's only for maybe postpaid and maybe prepaid, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this, looked at it too much.
Well, T-Mobile has already committed to Metro getting 5G this year. So all those in the chat, all those, across the YouTube world, Metro by T-Mobile customers, if they have a compatible device, and I don't know if Metro is going to be selling them in store, but they will have 5G availability. The same could be said for Google Fi, because they are an MVNO of Sprint and T-Mobile and US Cellular. T-Mobile's in there. Once the 5G is live and you've got a compatible 5G device, you're connected 5G. They're not distinguishing the network. They're like, we have 5G. Here it is. Use it.
I was going to say, won't everybody get 5G as soon as it's available, as long as you have a compatible device? Because your device doesn't care. You might get capped at LTE speeds, but the network is going to go to 5G if it possibly can.
All right, Dave. Well, let me ask you this then. Do you think AT&T is going to just give people 5G?
For a price.
Okay, so now we're talking. Now you're getting where I'm coming from. Is Verizon going to just give people 5G?
No.
It's an add-on. They're going to charge people $10 a month for the 5G service, and they have 2 or 3 devices, right? They've got the Moto Z3 with Moto Mod. They're selling the mod for $350. The phone is $350. The S10 5G is not out yet. The LG Thing Q, the V50 thing, whatever that thing is. Like, there's phones that are coming out within the next 2 months that will be compatible. Unfortunately, T-Mobile, because they're going to be using 600 megahertz, for their 5G initially, mostly, they don't have any hardware right now.
Right.
The problem is Qualcomm hasn't made a processor. They haven't made a chip compatible with their Spectrum.
Not yet. Because to make the antennas for 5G, because the 5G antennas are really, really sensitive, and they have to put a lot of them. And the lower the frequency you're using, the bigger you have to make the antenna.
Yeah, there's a lot kind of getting in the way, but like we should have something by the end of the year. I'm hearing Q3 of 2019.
I wouldn't doubt that. And the thing is that with Verizon and AT&T, again, if you have a 5G compatible device, I think you'll see the 5G icon and you'll be connected to the 5G network, but you'll be limited to LTE speeds. Because I don't think they can tell the device, hey, you can't connect to this network if it's available. I don't think they can force that device to do that.
Well, it's going to be in the firmware of the device, Dave. It's definitely going to be in the firmware.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking unlocked devices. My bad.
I don't think AT&T would never give an unlocked phone any type of features. I was with AT&T and I took Nexus 5X. Do you remember the LG made Nexus 5X?
Oh yeah, that's a great phone.
I couldn't get HD calling through AT&T. I couldn't get Wi-Fi calling through AT&T. They wouldn't provision the SIM. So it was just like an unlocked device. So I literally couldn't get voice over LTE. It was kicking my phone into HSPA every time I made a call.
Okay.
That's why I left them. And that's why I went to Verizon with my secondary SIM. And I'm like, well, Verizon gives me all that stuff on my unlocked phones.
I have my own horror story with AT&T too.
Go ahead.
When I was just getting out of high school, my family had AT&T, and we lived in a very rural area down in southeast Georgia, and we complained about our service, and they said, "Oh, your service should be fine according to our maps." Right. Your service should be fine. I'm like, "Well, your maps are lying." And they're like, "Well, we'll send somebody out." Did they ever show up? No. Called them back, and the guy never showed up. All right, we'll offer to give you this booster for LTE to increase your signal, $400.
Oh, come on, man. That's the stuff that they got to be sending out to people for free.
Absolutely.
That's their
T-Mobile does it.
network shortcoming. That's ridiculous.
It's not my fault your network sucks.
Well, it's not just that their network sucks, it's that they're lying on their coverage maps.
Yeah,
That hardware solution should be coming free as charge.
I completely agree. But when I tried to leave AT&T, they didn't want to release my phone number, and I just said, you know what, to heck with it. It's not worth me staying. That the pain of changing my number is less than the pain of staying with you. So I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Now, I will say that I think Cricket offers a better value than say AT&T from the postpaid side. I think AT&T prepaid does a couple of things better when it comes to the pain points of cost. But overall, I mean, I don't foresee AT&T doing anyone any favors in 5G. I don't foresee Verizon doing anything in terms of helping their customers. I think they're going to milk them as long as they can. T-Mobile, and I think especially with Metro, I can see them helping their customers to get into the next generation of networks. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it benefits them too. The more people you have, the more people the networks have using the newer technologies, the better it is for them too. Because 5G can support tons more devices per area than 4G LTE can, and 4G could support tons more devices than 3G could per area. So with these newer technologies, you're getting better density, and you're just getting an overall better network. So of course they're gonna be like, "Hey, we'll help you get out of your old 3G phone into a 4G phone," or "Hey, we'll help you get out of your old 4G phone into a 5G phone." We want you to do that. And I think with AT&T, I'm just still a bit bitter on the way that they treated me. So that's kind of my fault too.
So, so let's kind of put a bow on it then, since we've kind of everything as it pertains to kind of like 5G and as well as the home internet solution from T-Mobile. Do you think that this strategy, this approach, do you think this is going to be a successful venture for T-Mobile in the long run?
I would say yes, just because of what they're offering and who they're targeting. I would say absolutely. They're not targeting the people who have gigabit and that pay $30 for it. They're targeting the people like my friend who lives in a downtown metro area who doesn't have any good options for ISPs because she can't hold a WhatsApp call. They're targeting my grandmother in rural Georgia who can get cell phone service, but who has one option for an ISP that charges her $90 a month for 15 megabit per second.
And you know what? I know that there is a segment of consumers out there that will literally leave their home ISP just in spite because of the way they've been done dirty and drugged through the mud and the way they've been mistreated and overcharged. And they're just going to want to leave just because there's another option. Even if it means their speeds go down a little bit, even if it means the value is going to decrease a bit, they're just going to be like, I'm not giving them my money anymore. I'm done.
I won't give AT&T my money for that exact reason. I don't even want to use Cricket.
Wow. And actually, I kind of like Cricket. I like the option. Uh, but I mean, that's how you feel about AT&T. You know, and I think a lot of people feel that way towards Verizon and FiOS, and they have these bill squabbles and these disagreements and these overcharges, and like they don't forget that. People always remember what happens. Like you shared your AT&T story. I mean, people share these types of stories all the time.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite subreddits to go look at is the r slash mobile carriers, the mobile carriers subreddits, because I love seeing the prepaid, like the prepaid carriers, and answering questions and people asking questions about switching from these big carriers.
All right, Dave, I got one last thing, man. What's gonna be what's gonna be the deal breaker for all of this? What's the make or break for T-Mobile being successful with home internet?
I think it's their approach. If they get a bunch of people and then they start to go back on their promises, T-Mobile's promises are the main thing that has helped them get as big as they are. And if they lose sight of what they were, they're going to fail, and they're going to fail miserably, because the people they're targeting are the millennials, and they're not really targeting, like super targeting, like my grandmother's generation, right? They're targeting millennials. Millennials don't have that brand majority thing. Like they don't care whether they're using T-Mobile or Verizon. They don't
Right.
care whether they don't care who they use. They just want it to work. And right now, T-Mobile works for a lot of people. But if they start going back on their promises, they're going to lose so many people so fast, because of the fact that that's who they've been targeting.
I think the make or break in this whole thing, I think it's the merger. I think to hit that speed cap, that capacity potential, they're going to need Sprint specifically for the spectrum holdings. And also just the market share. They're going to be up at 130 million subscribers with the merger. And that's not counting prepaid. You count prepaid, you're up at about 160 to 170 million subscribers.
That's Verizon territory. Yeah,
Exactly.
the merger is going to be a big deal for them. I really do want it to go through. And the reason I say that is I know a lot of people are against it and say that it shouldn't, but I've seen what T-Mobile can do for people, and it is an amazing thing.
Well, it's got to get better than two carriers that are worth a damn and then two carriers that are playing catch up.
Absolutely.
I mean, T-Mobile's the only reason they're behind in subscribers is just because they're the newest company. It's not because they don't innovate. It's not because they're not profitable. It's because they started late.
I remember T-Mobile back in 2011. My friend had a T-Mobile phone, and I'm like, "You use T-Mobile? How often do you actually get service with that?" And yeah, yeah. Do you remember T-Mobile back in 2011?
I do. I remember when they were just pushing those basic phones and flip phones, and LT was just a dream. Like they did not have a good network. It was bad.
Yeah, I was like, my friend would say, my friend had T-Mobile or whatever. I'm like, so, and I lived in Georgia. I'm like, so if you leave Atlanta, you don't get signal until you get to what, Jacksonville, Florida? I mean, that's how bad it was.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I had family that had T-Mobile, and I'd have to call them 6 or 7 times to finally get through.
the improvements are, it's downright amazing
Well,
what they've
people that
done
are
in
on
such a
Metro are
short.
enjoying the speeds. The LTE speeds in some of these markets are phenomenal. I've had people, on my Discord. Shout out to the SMT Discord. They're giving me screenshots, sharing images of like 80, 90, 110 megabits per second. 40 is average. That's phenomenal for a prepaid carrier.
Absolutely. As I said, I'm bottom of the totem pole, and I pull 100 megabits a second. I live right over by the University of Minnesota. I have tons of apartment buildings right near me. Like my apartment building has, I think, 500 residents, and I live next to another apartment building with a couple hundred more residents, and I'm a stone's throw from the university, and I'm still pulling 100 megabit a second at the bottom of the totem pole.
Dave, they've got like 19 consecutive quarters of like 1.5 million ads or more. Like it's absurd the growth that T-Mobile and I'm going to go ahead and just say, Metro by T-Mobile because that acquisition several years ago has only led to more growth. The Metro PCS brand was known as a very low-end prepaid brand. Now I feel like it's a premium prepaid brand. You're getting excellent network performance.
I wish that they had when they did the whole Metro by T-Mobile change. I just wish that they had called it Metro. Quite honestly, like I know it's a T-Mobile thing, They know it's a T-Mobile thing, but I kind of wish that they had just called it Metro. It would have been easier to say, and it kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
But I think their goal was to make people think here is a premium prepaid carrier.
That is true. I see that point.
And then still keep them a little separate from prepaid T-Mobile. You know, like I don't know. It must have been some executives sitting in a room and just deciding we're just going to take out the PCS. We'll add By Tmobile so they know it's associated with some brand recognition. I don't know. Maybe that's how. And I don't know. Kind of playing like a speculative game there, but I mean that's pretty much it. That's what we wanted to cover here in the podcast, Dave. If there's if you want to go ahead and give your channel a shout out, go ahead, by all means do so.
Yeah, I'm just David B's Tech on YouTube. I'm certain Sneed would be glad to put the link down in the description.
Sure.
And thank the JGTechBlog for letting me on tonight.
Yeah, shout out to the JG Nation. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for all that that came to join us in the live chat. I definitely was able to get to some of the comments, and of course the interaction is always appreciated. So shout out to all that were in the live chat. Thank you to all who tuned in to watch. I also want to give a special shout out to the patrons over on Steam Mobile Tech on the Patreon side. Shout out to those on the Steam Mobile Tech Discord. Thank you guys for your continued support. Thank you to everybody who continues to watch my videos. So shout out to the Steam Mobile Tech YouTube channel, and shout out to the Dave B's Tech YouTube channel as well. And big shout out to JG, my dude. Hopefully he's watching and he enjoyed the podcast. I think that's pretty much it. Dave, if you want to go ahead and say your salutes.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Definitely appreciate being on. And 73. That's a ham radio term.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it very much. We will catch you guys next week. Same time, same place, JG Nation. We'll see you then. Take it easy. Peace.